Hey everyone, it's Kristen, and in this tutorial we're going to go over how to create this trending style of portrait where you can use a person or a pet or anything really and create this kind of splotchy watercolor looking effect. And this is total photo manipulation, so you really don't need to have any drawing skills to learn how to do this. Let's just jump right in and get started. I'm going to open the Unsplash app and find a photo of a person to do a portrait. They have some keywords up here. You can search for people. I'm going to go with fashion because that usually has some nice photos in it. This one's a good one. Let me go here. I'm just going to tap the arrow to download it. I'm going to tap more. And then you can choose to open it in Procreate, but I'm just going to tap copy, and then I'm going to open the Procreate app. Let me get out of here, and I'm going to add a new canvas and then choose clipboard. So that pasted that right into the canvas for me. So the first thing I'm going to do is resize this down a little bit. So I'm going to go to the arrow and move her down a little bit. Okay, and then the next thing I'm going to do is remove this background. So let me grab my Apple pencil, and to remove the background I'm going to go to the selection tool, and I'm going to make sure I'm on freehand, and that is going to allow me to draw around what I don't want. So you can zoom in and just start drawing. You can pick your pencil up and move the canvas around as you go. I am just trying to get kind of as close to her as possible. Oops. If you make a mistake, just do a 2-finger tap to undo it. Okay. I'm just going to meet that line back up to this circle where I started. And now you can see there are some vertical lines there that is showing my selection. So I have her selected. So what I want to do is do 3-finger down, swipe on the screen, and do cut and paste. And that cut and pasted her into a new layer. So I could turn off that background layer. You can just delete that layer actually. So slide it to the left and choose delete, and now we're just left with her. However, if you zoom in, you can see those lines are kind of harsh. So I'm going to do a 2-finger tap to undo all of that I just did. So before we cut and paste, let me bring that selection back up. I'm going to go down here and do feather, and I'm just going to feather it up maybe like 5%, and you can see that we'll feather out the cutout line. You can move that, but yeah, we're just going to do it really slow, so slightly at like 5%. And now I'm going to do 3 fingers down, cut and paste, get rid of that layer. And now you can see there's a little bit of a blur along the edges. That was what we feathered out. Now also you can see some of the background here in her earrings, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that also. Again, by going to the selection, make sure you're on freehand. And I'm just going to draw that one. And that one. And then feather. Let's do just like 3%. Swipe down and let's just do cut. So that just cut that right out of there. So now we're just left with our girl. So now I want to add a background layer. So I'm going to add a new layer and move it beneath my girl and just pick a color. I'm going to go with this green, looks good. So now because we cut that out, you can see the background behind her neck there. So we don't want to have this cut off part, so we're going to use masks and some Procreate features to kind of fix this up a little bit. But before we get there, the first thing I want to do is, if your picture is kind of dull or needs to be brightened or change colors or anything, you want to make sure you're on that layer. But before I do this, I'm going to make a duplicate of that layer and turn the original off. This way I always have a backup of the original. If whatever I do I don't like, I can always go back and start over. Okay, so to change some colors, let's go to the adjustments menu and hue, saturation, and brightness. And we can bump up the saturation a little bit to make her more colorful, or if you want black and white, you can turn it down. So I'm going to bump that saturation up to about 65%. You can also change the brightness. I'm going to leave the brightness, well, actually, let's turn it up a little bit to 55%. You could also go in and play with the curves. So you want to make sure you are on gamma. And this little dot here works out the brightness and darkness, will give you black, and this one will turn it to white. So I usually make a dot right in the middle and then move that up a little bit, and that you can kind of play around with the colors that way as well. You can probably hear my pet rats in the background getting a little drink. So when the picture is how you like it, you can tap and you can preview the before and after. You can undo, apply, cancel. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit apply and then get out of there. So the next thing that we can do is I want to add some noise to this. So to do that, let's go again to the adjustments menu, and we're going to go to noise, and I'm going to be on the clouds. And to adjust the noise, you're going to slide your pencil from the left to the right of your screen, and you can see that is giving her some texture, some noise. But I want to increase some of these settings down here. So I want to increase the scale. I'm going to turn the scale all the way up. I am going to leave my octaves down, and I'm going to leave, well, I'll play with the turbulence in a second. But here on this little settings here, we want to have the additive off, because I want it to also go on the background. If you have it turned on, it's just on her, but I want to have it turned on so it's affecting the background, and I want to have multi because I want it to be colors. So now you can see we have all these fun colors here, and now you can play a little bit more with these settings. So the turbulence will make it more turbulent, wavy. I like to have that down. The octaves will kind of play with that, and the scale again, I don't want it to be too small, so I want it to be probably about there. That way we have several different color patches. And then up here again, we can slide to make it less or more colorful. So I'm going to go right about there. And when you're done, you can tap off. So now on this layer, you can see we can't see our girl or our background anymore. So now we're going to play with the blend modes. So to do that, we're going to tap the N, and you can go up to multiply, or we can go to overlay. That one's kind of nice. Or let's try vivid light. No, that's too bright. I'm probably going to stick with overlay, but you can go through and find kind of the blend mode that you prefer. Okay, I'm going to stick with that one. And when you have the look that you want, you can then, let's see, where do I want to go with this? Let's merge all of these together so they're all on one layer. So to do that, you can pinch them all together. And now I want to take away some of this background, so she's just going to be like in a circle here. So to do that, we're going to use our masking feature. So we're going to tap on that layer and choose mask. Now it's automatically going to go to black, and whatever we see a brush here, whatever we draw is going to erase or hide actually, and then you can bring that back by using white. So by using black or white, you can play with the mask layer, or if you choose like a gray, it's going to be more of an opaque look. So let's go back to black. Let me clear that mask, and you can use any brushes to do this with, but I like to use watercolor brushes. And the ones that I really like are from Trailhead Watercolors. I'll leave the link for them for you. He has splatter brushes, washes, and then regular watercolor brushes, and he even has paper textures, and these are really great brushes. So let's start out with a splatter wash, and I'm going to turn this up. And the first thing, before I do that, I want to fill this layer with black so it gets rid of everything, and then we're going to go to white. And remember, white brings it back. So if I tap, you can see how it's bringing back a little bit of what it's hiding. So let's find one that's a little bit more. You can just continue adding stamps in that layer. So let me try another one. Let's turn that up. And now you can see it's too big. The more stamps you have, the more it's going to reveal and even add some texture to. So you can just continue stamping the places that you want. He also has some fun, I believe it's under splatters. Nope, must be under washes. I was looking for the drips. Here we go. Here's some drips where the paint runs down. So you can add different ones there. And then let's go back to the splatters, and there are so many fun splatters you can play around with. Another thing that I like to do is add a new layer and then add some black and white splatters. So if we just go to our white and add some tiny specks here on top of the paint or on top of the image, and maybe some, no, I don't like those ones. How about some of these brush flecks? I try not to put anything directly on their face if possible. So now that we kind of have our background and our shape of what we want, now I like to go in and play around with smudging her. So it looks more like a painting and not a photograph. So we're gonna go back to that layer, and I'm going to select the smudge tool, and let's find those brushes again, the trailhead brushes. Again, there are several really fun ones you can use. I'm trying to find a good one. This alcohol wash one, if you zoom in really close, whoops, that's too big. I think that's too far opaque. Let's try a different one. I like to find one that has some texture in it. Let's see what this one looks like. If you don't like it, just undo. Yeah, I'm not crazy about that one either. Oops. This one's kind of nice. And I just kind of go over a little bit to get rid of some of the textures in the skin that look too realistic. I'm gonna zoom in and do the eyes, get rid of any, you see how you can see these skin textures? If I color over that, it will get rid of that and look more like a painting. So I'm just gonna smudge some of these. Smudge your eyebrows so it doesn't look so much like hair. I try not to do it too much because you don't want to muddy the colors up, but I still want it to be a little bit blurred without being muddy. And the teeth, let me turn that down a little bit. I'll just try to take off any of the hard edges. Same with the nose. So when you zoom out, you can kind of see which areas look like a photograph, and then just go back in and add some more smudging to those. You can also switch your brushes if you're not happy with the brush and want different looks. So for example, you could probably use one of the hair texture brushes for these earrings because they kind of like have that hair feel to them. These tassels, I guess they are. And do our neck. Turn this down. I'm just going over some of the stitching. The denim I'm gonna leave because it has a really nice texture to it. Okay, now I'm gonna zoom in and do her eyes. It's a little bit of a different brush for that. Let's turn that way down. Okay, that looks more painted now. And I know I kind of got quiet a little bit, but I'm really just kind of working in all of these smudges just to kind of make it look not so much like a photograph. Okay, so let's move up to the top of her head. Smooth out some of that. And do the same with her hair. Again, you can use any hair brushes if you have them. Procreate comes with a couple. Hair brushes if you like. And I'm just gonna go in and kind of smudge her bandana. I lift my pencil up a lot because if you like smudge from one area into another, it could darken it or muddy it. So when you pick it up, it's going to get that new color that you land on, and smudge that around. Let's go back in and do some of these. Okay, so now, whoops, let me just go in and do this part that I didn't do under her nose and around her lips. If it's too harsh, you can turn the opacity down a little bit on the brush. But I want to keep those shadows there. Okay, that's much more like a painting now. Okay, so one more thing you can do if you want to add like a watercolor paper effect to this. Let's go to the top layer and add a new layer, and let's go to where the brushes were, and he has some paper texture here. Let's go with the hot press. I'm going to turn the brush all the way up and just color over that. And then we're going to set this layer to the blend mode of multiply. And when you do multiply, it looks like you actually painted right onto the paper. You can see through it, but that's still a little bit dark. So let's turn the opacity down a little bit, just so you can kind of still see the paper through it, but you don't want your person to be too dark. So that is pretty much it. You can go in and still play around with your masks. The good thing about masking is that you can take it away or bring it back if you like. So if I didn't like any of this, let me go back to black and fill that in again. And then we can go to white and bring back, whoops, where are we here? Mask, black, fill that in, and then let's go to white and you can bring back whatever you like on that. So there you have it. can't wait to see what you make, and be sure to share your images in our Facebook group. I'll put the link in the comments. Thanks for watching. Okay, so I'm back with one more tip before we go. If you wanted to make it look kind of like a cartoon effect, all you have to do is go in and trace around and add some lines. And to do that, you can use any brush within Procreate. I like to use my Zen Doodle pen set, and I use the 01 liner, but there are a variety of thicknesses that you can use with those, and it also includes some fun Zen Doodle shapes, so you can even add something like that to the background. So let me make sure I'm on a new layer, and let's just say I wanted to add some kind of funky thing to the background, and then you could always just kind of go in and erase where you don't want it. I also have under my lettering decor some little stamps that I use to brighten up my lettering compositions. You can also use for this style of drawing. And just add some fun little stamps here and there to make it more cartoon and more fun. So again, thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions. I'll leave the links for those brushes in the comments.